Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're listening and where you're listening. Regardless, thank you for listening. The show is NXT Talk, where we chat, review, analyze all things NXT 2.0 and NXT UK on NXT UK Corner. We're your hosts. I'm Boris, and I am joined by Matt.
Bonjour! How is everybody doing out there? We hope you're doing well. Boris, how you doing today, buddy?
I've never been better.
That's good. I'm glad to hear it.
This is quite the fever dream. Let me tell you that.
Oh man, yeah. This show feels like you're drunk at the best of times. It feels like you got a 105-degree fever, like when you're feeling well. So I can only imagine, Boris, the sights that you saw last night.
Dude, it was a trip. It was so trippy. Honestly, it was crazy. But yeah, I am sick as a dog. I'll get to that in a second as to why. It's just a cold, nothing else. I know as a fact it's a cold. But yeah, it's been a hell of a ride. But how are you doing, Matt?
I'm pretty well. I'm feeling above the weather, I would say. I got 2 days off in a row, and I have to catch up on a lot of G1. So after we're done podcasting here, I'm going to watch me 8 hours of wrestling, maybe. I'm just going to watch me a shitload of wrestling.
Yes, because you missed, the Sunday and the Monday?
I missed Friday, Sunday, and Monday. Right. I am behind 3 shows now. So yeah, I'm going to knock all those out today, hopefully. Maybe only the weekend shows and then the next 2. Because yeah, we're going to be covering 4 G1 shows for you on the next BAM. That's day 8, 9, 10, and Thursday morning's day 11, which has yet to happen at the time of this recording.
Yeah. Cool. Very cool. But yeah, so on, for those of you who don't live in Toronto, there was a major rainstorm on Saturday night, Sunday morning, really, at about 4, 5, 6 in the morning. It was just it was insane. It was just like a blanket of rain, and I was caught in the middle of it. No way out, and I just accepted my fate as I'm walking around the city.
Yeah, probably wearing shorts and a t-shirt.
I was wearing jeans and t-shirt because the lady friend's best friend stole my sweater.
Of course, classic female move. Yeah, man. Well, I'm glad you're living, and you seem somewhat okay. The voice sounds a little rough, but you look good, buddy.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. I can barely hear right now. But no. I know my voice. I sound a lot worse than I really am. Trust me. But let's get to it. We have a lot to chat about. All right, so it has been a crazy week in WWE. You know, I feel like we always say this. It's been a crazy week in wrestling, but really this past week has been absolutely insane. The shake-up, the draft, the draft days, whatever. It happened unannounced / announced via social medias and word of mouth. NXT was included in the draft. Number 1, did that surprise you?
No, but the people who went surprised me, man, honestly. The choices that they made surprised me.
All right, so let's talk about who went up. It was this time last week when we were talking about the possibility of Hit Row leaving NXT, being called up. I was skeptical, to be 100%. So when you sent me that message on Friday evening that it actually happened, I was actually still shocked. So Hit Row drafted to SmackDown.
Yeah. So I'm glad for them, and I think it's going to help SmackDown out, but it's way too early for probably 2 of these performers. You could argue 3 out of the 4. Swerve Scott is ready. Ashanti the Adonis, you know what? He's probably ready to. Top Dollar, he's not quite ready in the ring. B-Fab is nowhere close. It's developmental for a reason, Boris. Mm-hmm. If they're going to change NXT 2.0 and make it all about developing these people, why not leave them there to develop? I don't know, man.
You know what it is? Okay, so, all right, let's go through the list. Put a pin on that, because I do have a point to bring up about that. All right, also we saw Austin Theory get the official call-up to Raw. I'm happy for him there.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, and he's already appeared on Raw and kind of looks to be starting a new character, which is a good call for him.
Yes. We have Aaliyah going to SmackDown from Raw, which she never made an appearance on, so that's kind of funny.
Yeah, whatever, sure. Hopefully she gets more of a look on SmackDown. Seem to have a lot of free spaces there.
Yep. And then on Monday, it was announced probably the biggest surprise of the draft from the NXT group was Xia Li being drafted to Friday Night SmackDown, which this puts a huge question mark on Tian Sha.
Yeah, they just took her out of the group, and she's presumably like her old character, kind of a generic character, but honestly much better than like spooky Chinese zombie.
Yeah.
So
yeah, 100%. I agree with you 100% there. Like it just makes more sense. If all of Tian Sha were to go up, I can see them keeping the spooky zombie Asian characters, but because it's only Xia Li, it is what it is. Obviously, there is the chance that Tian Sha eventually goes up with her and they redo the past year's angle.
Oh, man, possibly. I could see that.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about Tian Sha later on in this show, and kind of because it's like, I was shocked at what happened and how they're using them. But yeah, so it was just crazy, man. Okay, so you were saying earlier.
Oh, wait. There's one more name. Ridge Holland also moved up to SmackDown.
Yeah. The other one that surprised me, Ridge Holland moving up to SmackDown without Pete Dunne. And I made a joke that I hope does not come true. What if Pete Dunne not eventually goes up at the same time as Ridge Holland, but as his manager?
Oh, and they cut his hair and change his name?
Yes.
Oh, man. You couldn't put it past him. It would be actually hilarious, kind of confirming the Adam Cole stories if it did happen, but poor Peter Dunne. I hope it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm shocked. The dude just signed a 3-year contract, and he's going to stay in NXT. His side piece is going to SmackDown. So to me, it makes zero sense that he's still in NXT. Ridge Holland is going to SmackDown. This might kind of not confirm, but reaffirm why Braun Breaker is the man right now in NXT. Ridge Holland got the call up. Who knows what's going on at the end of the day? I don't know. But we'll see what happens with Pete Dunne.
Yeah, I'm a little worried for Pete Dunne. I'm a little worried for the remaining members of Tian Sha, and other than that, I think we should also maybe talk about the people who didn't get drafted, who we thought were.
Before we go there, let me bring up this point. So,
yes,
you said earlier that if it is developmental, if they're still developing, keep them in developmental. I wholeheartedly agree with you 100%. But I am wearing my crazy senile hat, aka the Vince McMahon hat right now, the Kevin Dunn hat, the Bruce Pritchard hat, and they obviously see something in people. If they want to capitalize on someone's momentum, if they like the look on someone, they're going to call them up regardless of how ready or not they are. That's where we're at with NXT. It goes absolutely against everything that we've been told. It is still developmental, but if, the boss thinks you're ready, you're going to get the call up.
Man, we need to have a serious long talk on one of these podcasts about how Triple H didn't fail. He was sabotaged. If they would have treated Triple H's NXT just like that, if they would have changed nothing else but just done that and called somebody up when they were popular, the entire game would have been changed.
Yeah.
It would have made everything so much better. It would have made it mean more. Anyway.
But here's the thing, okay, but to that point, at the end of the day, they kind of did that with a few people, but the issue is, once they showed up to the building on Monday or Friday, Vince is like, who are you, right? Like, That's the issue right there.
That's the main issue. Yeah, we'll talk about that on that day. I know what you're saying about Hit Row, and believe me, I do think they're popular enough. I do think they're the kind of flavor that WWE needs on the main roster right now. I can see why they're being rushed. I just think the individual pieces in this group, they could use a little more time. But they're also talented. Even B-Fab, I think she's really, really talented, and she does have something. I do think all four will be fine. But it feels to me like it's too early, and they might struggle they might show some rookie mistakes for the first little bit, which is totally fine. But I think that's gonna happen.
No, exactly. I agree with you 100%. It's just, to me, it's just like, it makes zero sense in the grand scheme of things. Like, but whatever. Like, what else do we expect from WWE? All right, now, having said that, there are obvious names that haven't been called up from NXT. Matt, who comes to mind for you?
Big shock to me was Frankie Monet, especially with how last week's NXT episode ended. Really felt like they were writing her off. Felt like she'd step right into a feud with John Morrison versus The Miz and Maurice if they're going to go in that direction. It feels to me like a WrestleMania match. I'd actually pay money to see that match. I'm interested. That's the only thing that I'd ever be interested in John Morrison and The Miz doing.
Only reason I can see why Frankie Monet was not called up, and I can see her being put in a holding pattern until The Miz gets eliminated from Dancing with the Stars.
You might have a point. They might be onto something.
But why didn't they call her up and start building her up?
100%, especially because she's kind of like serious jobber status in NXT right now. Yep. It's just like they're beating her because they know she's going to leave, but she's not leaving. So maybe she's going to actually like become a trainer and like step out of the ring. I don't quite know what's happening. But I was very disappointed to see Frankie Monet not be dropped.
Like, she carried Cora Jade through the match, so that's great. But you know, if this is your developmental, if you're going to actually create a canon between NXT and the main roster, it's bad optics if Frankie Monet loses every match here on in.
I 1,000,000,000,000,000% agree with you, buddy.
All right, Frankie Monet.
What was the performer that stood out to you?
Cameron Grimes.
Yeah.
Dude, and it's just like...
To the moon!
You have the biggest issue in WWE, not the biggest issue, but one of the many thousand issues that WWE has is the ability to create natural faces. You know, I feel like oftentimes they force faces down our throats and people don't accept them in backlash. John Cena, Roman Reigns, those two names come to mind. And I'm not putting Cameron Grimes in that group, but those are prime examples of faces that just, like, people don't accept. Cameron Grimes is a natural face. Did you hear his reaction on last night's show? People cheer for this guy. People like this guy. He is great on the mic, even better wrestler. Why isn't he on the main roster? I understand, and I got the response from Blair overnight on the NXT thread about this, and that is, put yourself in Vince McMahon's shoes, and you see Cameron Grimes. What do you think?
Well, in Vince McMahon's shoes, like, you probably think, small guy, why is he so hairy? What's this beard? I don't get this gimmick. I don't see it. But, I mean, if I was Vince McMahon, Cameron Grimes would be the Intercontinental Champion. You know what I mean?
Dude,
like,
here's the thing. It's funny that you even said this. Why is he so hairy? Who is this guy? What's up with the beard? Make him into the new Dan O'Brien.
Right? He looks just like him, and he doesn't wrestle just like him, but he is a spectacular wrestler in a different way. Mm-hmm. And Cameron Grimes has a babyface. He has such a wide bag of tricks. He'll always bust out a new move or like a crazy 360 backflip bump. He's always going to do something that will stand out in that Daniel Bryan kind of way.
Yep.
There is a silver lining to the Cameron Grimes cloud. I want to touch on it here. We might mention it again during the show. But did you notice during Cameron Grimes' entrance that they kept bringing up Baron Corbin? They kept bringing up Happy Corbin, and directly tying him and comparing him to Cameron Grimes.
Yes.
So that made me feel good. That feels like that could be a thing down the road.
Yep, exactly. Other names that surprised me, and this is just WWE Boris thinking, is LA Knight.
Yeah, I can see that. He's what? Is he 38, 39 now in real life? That might be a factor. But to me, it's like if you sign this guy at all, he can clearly talk. He's got a little bit of mainstream press with like the car ads that Ric Flair was in before they got yanked. But I think you had to pull the trigger now if you were going to pull the trigger. So it seems like they might not ever pull the trigger on that guy.
Agreed. Pete Dunne, obviously, we already brought him up. But those are really the four people who really stood out to me as to what's next. People might say Johnny Gargano. People might, but people might say Tommaso Ciampa. But the reality is, I don't see them going anywhere outside of NXT.
No, Ciampa has numerous times stated that he doesn't want to go to the main roster and he would sooner retire than wrestle on the main roster schedule. And good for him, he wouldn't last. Yeah. One more name that shocked me just because I thought he was getting that big push and I thought he was going to go up was Odyssey Jones. I thought they were going to pull the trigger on Odyssey.
Yeah. And it's funny. It's like, going back to this is developmental comment, right? And then there's someone like Gabe Stevenson who just completely sidestepping NXT.
Oh, man. Okay, so that's a little different because
it is.
They're training Gable Stevenson on their own. They have built him, or I don't know if they're going to a separate facility, but they're basically built him his own NXT. You know what I mean? And they have trainers working with him directly, teaching him how to take bumps while he's training and about to do his NCAA wrestling season, right? And he's also already the Olympic gold medalist. Yeah. So it's in a lot of ways, it's a dumb idea because he has so much to lose by wrestling college, but that's neither here nor there. Boris, I think putting him in the draft was a terrible idea and it made him look like a fucking idiot. They just did it for the one visual of the NFL draft thing with his family. They had that idea to have that visual, which was a decent visual, but they should have drafted him first overall. Yeah. That would have made such a huge point. We're drafting him first overall. He's training. You're going to see this kid in 6 months to a year and keep your eye peeled. To just throw it in the last round as a dumb thing at 10:30 on Raw is such a dumb idea. You've already told us that this guy's a loser, and people would rather have Jeff Hardy or Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss above this guy, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And then there's some names from NXT who have been working a lot of dark show, or at least one name that stands out to me, and she seems to be a free agent, and that's Dakota Kai.
I feel bad for Dakota Kai. Yeah, what's her deal? She's in limbo? Is she injured? Did they forget that she exists? I'm a little bit worried about her prospects going forward here.
Look at her social media. Look at her Instagram. That might give you some hints as to what's going on. Nothing, she's not hinting anything, but she's basically just playing the I'm a free agent card.
Interesting. Okay, well, that's good. So it's probably a storyline. Well, hopefully they did it on purpose and they have a plan for her and they didn't just forget that she exists.
Yeah, they didn't just, exactly. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, it's so anything else you want to talk about the draft before we move on?
Some puzzling decisions. I hope it works out well for those who moved up. I do have high hopes for the Swerve crew, Hit Row, specifically Swerve. I think they should and will. I actually am going to say will strap a rocket to that group. I do think they're going to get a strong push, and I think they're going to be stars. I really do.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing. My love of Legado will never change, but main roster wise, Hit Row's they're better off than Legado on the main roster.
On paper, for sure.
All right, so let us talk some NXT 2.0 from October the 5th, 2021. So the show opened up with a video. Dude, I'm really starting to hurt right groggy now. My hearing is really going. I'm now visually sweating because I'm burning up. Before we get to the show, we have to do one thing. Matt, you do it because I'm done.
Well, Boris, we are the young guns here, and we like to change things up at NXT Talk. You see, we're done with star ratings. They're passé. They're old news, and we like to mix it up with a rating system du jour, if you will. And Boris, I was thinking, there's a couple new characters. There's all kinds of possibilities, but since it was the debut of the great, get out of here. Forget about it. Tony D'Angelo. I say we go gabagools out of 5 on this edition of NXT Talk.
I love it. Okay, we're going to do that. So the show opens up with a video package to promote the Fatal 4-Way for the NXT Tag Team titles. We're live at the Performance Center from Orlando, Florida. Vic Joseph welcomes us, hyping the Fatal 4-Way that was originally announced as an 8-man tag team match. Vic is joined at ringside by Wade Barrett and WWE Hall of Famer Beth Phoenix, and we go straight into match number 1 of the night, which saw Mandy Rose go up against Ember Moon.
Mandy Rose, the starting off your fever dream, right, Boris, with the crazy bodysuit chains and I don't know, various booty shorts kind of thing. It's a heck of a new gear situation. Looks like a rejected WWF Attitude gimmick.
Yeah, 100% it does. What did you think? Like, I know you didn't like the matches in at least the very first hour. I thought this match was perfectly fine for what it was at 4 minutes and 31 seconds. You're not going to get a 5-star classic out of these two, but you got what you needed. They executed what they needed to execute. They didn't look too sloppy. Mandy Rose looked pretty good doing what she was doing, like move-wise.
Yeah, it wasn't like terrible, but I thought it was, it was pretty bad. Like if we watch this thing closely, man, you know what I mean? We're used to like
that's the
Candace
issue right now.
Io.
You're analyzing this as if it's Dynamite. You're analyzing this as if you're watching G1. Got to take a step back. Take a step back.
You're completely right, but I'm trying to analyze everything under the same umbrella. I try to analyze G1 like I would analyze 86 superstars, like I would analyze Lou Thez versus Buddy Rogers from 1950. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like in some fashion. But you're right. Yeah. We do need to take a step back and appreciate what it is we're watching. This is OVW now.
Exactly.
This is superstars.
And here's the thing.
This is what it is.
Crazy concept, Matt. They actually gave the right person the win here. So Mandy Rose won with the V-Trigger. Got the pin. 4 minutes, 31 seconds. Obviously, they want to start giving some W's to Toxic Attraction. They're building this team up. And Matt, they actually gave him a W. What a crazy concept.
I know, right? Could you imagine wrestlers moving up with wins? Jeez. But I think they should drop the toxic part. I like the attraction. I like that because it's like the wrestling vernacular. They are the attraction. They bring you to the arena, but also, they're hot girls, Boris, you see. Anyway, I thought this is a slight fail, but good effort. That kind of match. Like it was 4 minutes of Mandy Rose versus Ember Moon. It wasn't great, but it was not an affront to my sensibilities. But we're going to go 2 gabagools out of 5. Slight fail, but strong effort.
Yeah. After the match, all of Toxic Attraction is in the ring. We hear boos from the Nextras. The announcers are talking about Hit Row. They obviously bring up the fact that they've been called up to the main roster. We get a vignette from Legado del Fantasmas, Santos Escobar, Electra Lopez, Raul Mendoza, and Joaquin Wilde. They essentially each talk shit about Hit Row, and Escobar challenges Swerve to put the NXT North American title on the line, and he asks him, "What type of man are you?"
Escobar is a great promo. You've said it before, but like, I'll tweak your point. You say that Santos is better than Andrade. I would say that if Andrade El Idolo had Santos's promo skill, he'd be a 5-time world champion already.
Yeah, agreed. No, that's yeah, exactly. I like this promo. It was really cool, really well shot. So that was that. We get Odyssey Jones' entrance. We go to commercial because that seems to be the trend. Entrance, commercial, next entrance. So the second match of the night was Odyssey Jones versus LA Knight. This match,
what a shocker to me. This I would, if you put a gun to my head and told me to pick the winner, I would not be recording this podcast this morning, Boris.
What did I say last week? I had a feeling that LA Knight was going to win. I was firmly under the belief that this is just going to be either a long-term story or Odyssey Jones was going to break off into something else, and that's exactly what happened here. You're starting a new story, with what's his name? Chase. Andre Chase.
Yeah.
So
Andre Chase.
It is what it is. Now, this match itself, I did not like. Odyssey Jones needs to slow down a little bit. There were times that LA Knight looked like he was hitting, like legit hitting Odyssey Jones with elbows and kicks because Odyssey Jones wouldn't stay put and he kept moving. There was one elbow drop in particular. LA Knight just jumped up. Odyssey Jones, for whatever reason, got off his back, and LA Knight just drilled him right on the chest.
Yeah, so I can agree with that. He's a bull in a china shop in there. But you know what? I thought this was actually like decent. I thought LA Knight worked his ass off for Odyssey Jones here. Like you were saying, like he was bouncing around like a super ball in there. I thought it was a really good performance for LA Knight. Even if he's just going to go on to the main roster to be a complete jobber, this was proof that he can do that too. So I think this was a really good match. It fell into the class, not a really good match, but it was a really good performance from LA Knight. Fell into the classic WWE tropes though, such as Odyssey Jones beats the shit out of LA Knight, slips on a banana peel and gets hit with one move, and then Odyssey Jones gets pinned somewhat clean.
Yeah.
Not clean, but somewhat clean.
Exactly, and that's the thing, right? It's the classic play the music and the wrestler who's doing all the ass kicking gets distracted. We already brought this up. Andre Chase came out. He yelled at Jones from the apron. The fans are booing. Jones knocks him to the floor with a right hand. Knight takes advantage of the distraction, drops Jones with a cutter finisher for the pin. And they try to do this thing where Andre Chase grabs Jones's foot. He barely grabbed it, but they wanted to show the point that Odyssey Jones was pinned because of Andre Chase.
Yeah, so Odyssey Jones did get his foot under the ropes, which should theoretically break the pin, but Andre Chase shoved his foot away. LA Knight wins with a flying neck breaker, like an RKO neck breaker in 4 minutes and 4 seconds. I would go slightly higher than the previous match just because I did feel like LA Knight noticeably worked his ass off. And Odyssey Jones is a very entertaining guy. So I would go typical WWE squashy match. So I gave it 2.5 gabagool out of 5. It is a Mendoza line kind of WWE match for me. But again, tip of the cap to LA Knight on this one. He impressed me here.
Yep. Chase looks on from the entranceway. Jones stares him down. So this looks like to be the new pairing. And I kind of like this. You have these NXT 1.0, NXT 2.0 guys, and then, you're going to create a new feud with NXT 2.0 guys. It makes sense on paper, right?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. I'm for it. I like we said, worried about LA Knight, but hey.
If he stays in NXT, that's fine.
I guess. I just don't think. I think he has more to offer the wrestling business than to be an NXT jobber.
Yeah, you're right. All right, it is time for the hardest working reporter in all of professional wrestling, Mackenzie Mitchell. She is backstage with Cameron Grimes. Grimes is a little jealous over all of the love going around NXT these days. He specifically talks about Cora Jade, bleh, and Trey Baxter, bleh, and Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis, which is why he's on the hunt for love of his own. Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland interrupt. Dunne says there's not a woman alive who would touch Grimes. Dunne says a lot is changing in NXT, but he's still the baddest man on the planet. Holland threatens to teach Grimes a lesson tonight. Grimes pays little to no attention to them. While they're talking, he walks over to two women, asking if they're single.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to see. Do you think they're going to introduce a new character, or do you think we've already met Cameron Grimes' love interest?
That's interesting. I have a feeling they're going to introduce someone new.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Maybe it'll be ODB from TNA. No, probably not.
Oh, God. But yeah, this was what it was. I don't know. Pete Dunne, he's always put in these weird situations. And last night was the first time I actually noticed what you always say about him. This pouty kid acting like a dumbass. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
Doesn't work for me anyway. I see him and I'm like, yeah.
Yep.
He just seems like a pouty, whiny child a lot.
Yep. All right, right before the break, Tommaso Ciampa comes out. When we come back from the break, Kyle O'Reilly approaches Von Wagner in the locker room, asking why he helped them out 2 weeks in a row. Wagner says he saw an opportunity, jumped on it. He doesn't like Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland as much as O'Reilly does. Wagner says he respects O'Reilly. O'Reilly says he's had a rough year and now trusts no one, especially management. But he understands where Wagner's coming from, but he also wants Wagner to let him handle his own business and stay out of his way. O'Reilly walks off. We go back to the ring where Ciampa has a mic.
Yeah, so this was interesting. Von Wagner, he's a Fargo character, isn't he? Like the Minnesota accent, or like wherever it is, the upper Midwest accent of the United States. I don't quite know. I think it's Minnesota.
Yeah, it's Minnesota.
Thick on this guy, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's very thick. It's very thick. I don't know. I'm almost afraid to see what they would do to him in the main roster.
You'd literally become a Fargo character. I don't even know. But yeah, Kyle O'Reilly, don't you know? It was an interesting promo from Von Wagner. I need to hear him 1 or 2 more weeks to get my Von Wagner impression down, Boris.
All right, so Ciampa is on the mic. He says he wants to get straight to the point. He announces that Halloween Havoc is in fact returning on October 26th, and he needs an opponent. Ciampa goes on and talks about how actions mean everything in this new world of NXT, and he knows the roster is full of hungry competitors. He mentions how one man claims he's not a patient man and wants to be the flag bearer of NXT, which is fine and dandy to him. He asks who has balls big enough to come to try to take his title. And then here comes the man, the myth, the legend, the Braun, the Breaker with 2 Ks, Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker says he's treated Ciampa with nothing but respect since the day he walked in the door, but he doesn't care how long he's been here. He wants to be the NXT champion. Breaker heard Ciampa say he wants to fight someone with balls, and Breaker has the biggest balls in the locker room. Breaker says the match he wants is the match he wants, and the fans want it too. He says he wants a title at Halloween Havoc. Ciampa then says the difference between them is Breaker wants a title, Ciampa needs the title. To Breaker, the title is just a stepping stone to something bigger and better. To Ciampa, it is something bigger. It is something better. Ciampa then says Breaker has 3 weeks to go from an intern to a PhD. Ciampa says the challenge is accepted. Breaker gets hyped. Fans are actually going pretty crazy. Ciampa exits the ring, bumping into Breaker's shoulder on his way out. Breaker looks on from the ring as Ciampa raises the NXT title from the ramp.
This was really good. Braun Breaker is ready. I like that they're keeping him he's short and sweet and to the point on the microphone. But every time we've seen him talk so far, he's kind of held his own. I'm very excited to see this match. I think Breaker has a lot of talent, and Ciampa could probably pull something great out of him.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm really enjoying Braun Breaker. I didn't think I would as much considering his lineage and whatnot. But it's great. I really am enjoying Braun Breaker. Like you said, his short and sweet promos are just perfect. If anything, what this new NXT has done okay, but I want to see more of, because there have been examples of them not doing this, but it's hiding wrestlers' faults.
Yeah, definitely. And so far, they're doing that exact thing with this young Rex Steiner here. So I'm really enjoying everything they've done with Braun Breaker. I think it's been great so far.
Yep, and it's great to see that Halloween Havoc is coming back. With only 3 weeks to go, I was really starting to get concerned that these specialty TV shows were a thing of the past.
Yeah, man, same. And it's our 1-year anniversary, Halloween Havoc, Boris. The Podiversary.
The Podiversary.
Here at NXT Talk.
Yep. Hopefully we'll be able to partake in person with cake and pie and booze.
Yes. 1,000,000%. Oh, I have an idea for a gimmick on that Thursday BAM after the G1 wraps up. We should do Best of Halloween Havoc.
Ooh, that's a good one. Clearly DDP versus Goldberg is going to top the list.
Highly, highly possible. Sorry, there's a garbage truck going absolutely off outside my room. I'll close my window. But yeah, highly possible. That or Steiner's v Nasty Boys.
Yep. Oh, that one would be good. All right, we get a brief backstage promo from Joe Gacy. He says while social media crashed this week, one platform didn't, and that's the voice for an inclusive generation, NXT. He will use the ring as his safe space tonight as we gathered in unity to prove that conflict can be resolved peacefully, and yes, there can be two winners.
He's growing on me. You like this Joe Gacy much more than I do, but they're pushing him hard. I'm ready for the flip. This character is boring. It's just nothing. But he's a very talented guy, and once he makes the flip to evil, and we actually see like the layers to this gimmick, it'll be good. Right now, he's just generic HR guy, spouting the cliches that like a 50 or 60-year-old white man who's rich as fuck thinks like a liberal says.
Look, I'm okay with this character because they're building something. You know there's going to be more, or at least you were hoping. I was hoping there would be more, and by the end of this segment, the next segment I should say, you kind of did see that there could be more coming up with him. I'm actually interested, like super interested now to see where this is going to go. But we'll touch on that because I was actually shocked at who debuted last night.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna touch on that just in a little bit. But I did quite enjoy this promo. Joe Gacy's a good talker.
He is a great
speak very well.
Yeah, he's a very good talker. All right, so after the break, Indy Hartwell is walking with Persia Pirotta backstage. They're talking about the honeymoon with Dexter Lumis. Indy says she put him down and he's too tired to be here. She mentions how they went through 2 packets. And Persia asks about his size as they walk. They stop, see smoke coming from under a door. They open it up, and Tian Sha and Boa are there doing Tian Sha and Boa things. Boa is apparently bowing to Ying while she sits on her throne. Boa yells at them and slams the door. Dude, isn't this the most WCW thing you've seen on WWE TV and the most WCW way of setting up a match?
Yeah, when people say like, "Oh, NXT is like Vince Russo now," like it's a little harsh. This was Vince Russo, especially the absolute terrible dialogue. Not even a double entendre, just like literally, "Oh, how big is his dick?" Like not even like a twist on it, not even a joke. Just like, "LOL, they're talking about dick. Isn't that funny?" It's just like, come on, guys. Like we can do a little better,
Yep.
Can't we? I don't know. Make a joke out of it. I don't know. This was bad, but.
Yep.
This is where we're at. This is where we're at, buddy.
Yep. Anyways, I'm not even going to start. All right. So we get into the match. Joe Gacy versus one of my favorite characters on NXT 2.0, Ikeman Jiro. This match was fun. It was a fun match. Was it good? I'm not sure, but it was fun.
I think it was pretty all right. It was only 3 minutes, unfortunately, but they both did a lot. They did a lot of stuff. You got to see exactly who the personalities of both of these guys were, and you got the fans were super into this, man. Crowd loved both of these guys. This was very enjoyable. One of the best things on the show.
I am truly shocked that the crowd is getting behind Ikeman Jiro. I don't know why, but I am shocked.
I'm not. I think he's got that it factor to some extent. He's got like the mid card, lower card it thing. He's like too cool 2021, He reminds me of like a Scotty Too Hottie.
That's so funny because I was thinking the exact same thing. All right, so at one point, Jiro walks right into a big boot in the corner. Gacy goes to the top. Jiro rocks him, sends him to the mat with a hurricanrana. Gacy ducks a dropkick, comes right back up with a lariat in the middle of the ring for the pin, and he won via pinfall. So that was the match. Matt, how would you rate this?
3 minutes and 9 seconds, and Joe Gacy wins with a Tajiri-style handspring into a very nice lariat. I like that finish. That's pretty cool. It's similar to the buckshot lariat in a way. It's just a way to get into the clothesline, a fancy way. But I thought this was pretty good. We're going to go as high as 3 Gabagool Boris out of 5. Joe Gacy, 60%. It's a C in Canada, above the Mendoza line. If every match on NXT was like this, it'd be a way better show.
Yeah. Exactly. After the match, Gacy is happy in the ring. He gives a peace sign in the air. We go to replays. Gacy helps Jiro up after the match, gives him a hug. I love Jiro's reaction. He's like, what the fuck? That's my one F word. Just happened. Gacy makes his way up the ramp. He stops up the entranceway as a mystery man is shown in the stand staring Gacy down. This person is bald, skinhead, tattoos, mean, muggin', mofo.
Yeah. So I think they actually said it on Insta later, on the social medias. They didn't really address it on the television show, but this man, Boris, was Parker Bordeaux, now known as, I believe, just Harland. He's no longer even Gunner Harland. He's now Harland. And he looks like he's going to be Joe Gacy's muscle here, maybe.
Yeah, interesting. Number one, I find it very interesting that they changed his look. Doesn't look anything like a Brock Lesnar type Pokemon anymore, as you would say. It's crazy. Like, we didn't recognize him. Like, on the boards after this, we were just calling him the skinhead. It took me a while, like, and then I went on social media. I'm like, what the hell? It's Parker Bordeaux.
Yeah, I definitely didn't know until you said that. I wouldn't have known until I saw social media. Yeah, he looked kind of like, he didn't look like we're used to seeing, as you said. Like, he did not look like Baby Brock here. He looked like a crazy skinhead. He looked like Sam Gradwell from NXT UK.
Yes, exactly. All right, we got a video package for Cora Jade hyping tonight's match. Back to commercial. I'm just skipping right through that. I have zero time for Cora Jade. Like, zero.
I think
less than zero.
You're too harsh on Cora Jade. She's 20 years old, young baby face. She's not great at anything yet, but she's got like a little bit, like 5% of the Jungle Boy thing, where you just want to like her because she's so young and she's so fresh faced. She's a quintessential baby face.
Not for me. Not for me.
Fair enough.
All right. Then we get something that I was a little iffy on. A casino-themed vignette with Duke Hudson, who is now a master of poker, apparently, and a professional poker player. He talks about toying with your mind and ending it before it begins. All money is welcome because he's taking it all, whether it's in the ring or on the felt. He says, better luck next time.
On the felt. Classic WWE to introduce a poker player 15 years after the poker. Boom.
Or as I said, 5 years before the next one. When's the NHL CBA up?
That's funny.
Because that's literally when poker got popular.
That is true. Yeah, we needed something on the TV here in Canada. That's what had happened here. Although it kind of happened on a worldwide scale, definitely in the States as well. And I wouldn't blame the NHL for that in America. But yeah, I feel that's funny.
Yep. All right. It is time for Cora Jade versus Virginia Ferry. We get Cora Jade's entrance. See the enhancement talent, the jobber that is Virginia Ferry. But before the match can even begin, Frankie Monet pulls Ferry from under the ring, completely rocks her at ringside. Robert Stone cheers her on. Stone says he's sorry to Jade because her new opponent is Monet. Alicia Taylor makes the change official along with the ref. So then the actual match is Frankie Monet versus Cora Jade.
Yeah. So, Cora Jade, I don't like her theme song. It's like a really bad Tony Hawk song, like Tony Hawk Underground 1 or 2. I don't know. But, boy, this was very disappointing. And I saw it coming a mile away, honestly. Like, as soon as this happened, as soon as Frankie Monet came out, I was like, oh, no, they're going to beat Frankie instead. Yep. And they beat Frankie instead. You could see Frankie Monet like leading Cora Jade by the hand through this 2-minute wrestling match, but this was basically nothing. Like, this was a pretty bad wrestling match.
And with a roll-up, no less.
Yeah, so she was going for the her finishing move, the former Beth Phoenix bitch clamp, if you will, that buster. And Cora Jade reversed it into like a Casadora roll up, just like a body roll out of that Rey Mysterio does all the time, and gets the 1, 2, 3 in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Frankie Monet jobs. It wasn't long enough to be a good match. There wasn't like much of anything to it. I went 1 gabagool out of 5. Poor sweet Frankie Monet. If she doesn't get called up right away, I think she might be going down the other way to become a trainer.
Yeah, dude, it's kind of scary just because, like we said earlier on the show, Frankie Monet, okay, one thing is jobbing to a couple people here and there. You're teaching them, you're being the coach. But another thing is if Frankie Monet is, in fact, in a holding position and all she does is job, people are going to lose interest in her real fast.
Yeah, like if she's out here losing to Cora Jade and the like. Now, the only way that they could fix this is to blame Robert Stone, to like put all the blame on Robert Stone, have her beat up Robert Stone, maybe beat him in a match if you wanted to do that. Although I would never, ever book an intergender match as long as I lived personally.
Yeah, agreed.
But I think that this could be saved by blaming Robert Stone and then giving her some wins. But this is just bad. It's just a waste of her talent. Like, why? It's just like LA Knight. Why bring them into NXT just to job to the Cora Jades of the world? They have more to offer the wrestling business than that.
Yeah. It should be noted that Baxter was at ringside for this match, and it was what it was.
Yeah, they're kind of telling a weird story there. Like Trey Baxter, lost his match, and but he came out and helped Cora Jade, willed her to win her match. So I actually really, I'm into this Trey Baxter Cora Jade story. Again, you have 0 time for it, buddy. Zero.
Less than zero. If last night was the last time that we saw this act, it's one too many times that I've seen them.
It's so incredibly harsh.
All right.
I don't know what they've done to earn your ire.
I have no idea either. All right. MSK is backstage. They're pacing around as the hardest working reporter in all of professional wrestling, Mackenzie Mitchell, comes up to them, interviews them about the main event. The Grizzled Young Veterans interrupt. They each have words and agree to make the main event an elimination style match. Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs show up, and they don't want to wait. A brawl breaks out as Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams also show up as we head into commercial.
Yeah, so I think they should have started the show with this segment. This should have been the first thing that you saw, cold open, and then they tell you this is why it's now a fatal four-way thing, right? But that's neither here nor there. This was not the most offensive thing on this television program.
Yeah, we just passed it.
Again, that is so harsh. That is unfair. There are 2 matches worse than that one, I think. Although that one was still pretty bad.
All right. Back from the break, and the hardest working reporter in all professional wrestling, Mackenzie Mitchell, is with the NXT champion, Tommaso Ciampa, in the back. She asks him about facing Braun Breaker with 2Ks at Halloween Havoc. Ciampa goes on and says the match will be special. Joe Gacy interrupts and brings up how Ciampa asked who has the biggest balls to take his title. Gacy says that was some specific toxic energy coming from Ciampa. Gacy goes on and says he realizes Ciampa must be feeling his strength from privilege as champion, but Gacy speaks from a voice struggling to be heard, and they speak through him. Gacy says, we would love to be included in a title shot. Ciampa sees what Gacy is trying to do and says if he wants a title shot, he can beat Ciampa next week to be added to the Halloween Havoc match. Ciampa promises that the ring won't be a safe space for Gacy next week.
Yeah, so I like this. This was the most of a twist they put on it. Gacy came out and said something objectively ridiculous to a babyface, to their face. He said Ciampa had toxic energy because he mentioned balls on a wrestling show. So I kind of like this. We're kind of getting there with Joe Gacy. More and more, slowly getting there. I have all the time in the world for this character as long as it's progressing, as long as he's becoming the heel that he should be.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? It's kind of like the right to censor gimmick, or what it shouldn't be, right? The right to censor gimmick was it's all out the PT, making fun of the PTC, the Parents Television Council from the late 90s, who basically tried to dethrone Raw from all of their sponsors, yada, yada, yada. Go on the internet, read it if you're young. I like this because there seems to be levels and they seem to be going and building somewhere with this character.
Yeah, exactly right. And if it was just as one note as the RTC was, it would be brutal. But you know what? He seems hopefully like he's growing, and it seems like the NXT office is like strongly behind this character. So we'll see.
Yep. All right, we see a furious NXT Women's Champion Raquel Gonzalez walking through the parking lot. We come back, and out comes Pete Dunne with the newest SmackDown superstar, Ridge Holland. Cameron Grimes is out next to a huge pop. As you said, the commentators were bringing up Baron Corbin. So again, we're kind of seeing this canon between main roster and developmental, and I'm all for it. Even the mention earlier in the night, and I forgot to bring this up, that Vic Joseph and Wade Barrett had when they asked Beth Phoenix about how she's feeling after what happened with Seth Rollins on Friday, entering their home and whatnot.
That's a really good call. Yeah, we should have brought that up off the top. That was very good for them to do that. And yeah, man, the fact that they like arbitrarily out of nowhere brought up Happy Corbin and tied him to this Cameron Grimes character, I do feel like they're kind of planting a seed there, and hopefully that's because Cameron Grimes is moving up and he's going to feud with Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin.
Yeah. What did you think of this match?
It was the best thing on the show by a country mile, by a wide chasm. It went 6 minutes. It felt like a third of that length. I could have had it for 15 easy. I think we obviously know what NXT is now, but if they cut back on a little bit of the bullshit, just a tad, and gave us like a good 10, 15-minute match instead of like a fire hose of horse shit and 1 6-minute match that's worth my time, you know what I mean? If they just scaled back the fire hydrant spraying duck shit all over the place, Boris, and they just gave us a long match. Anyway, I liked it. I liked it, buddy.
That's the thing. I think that they're doing too much in too little bit of time. It's got that Wednesday night feeling where they're just trying to throw too much at the wall. And if they were to cut back on the number of segments, a match like this could double in time, and in my opinion, would make for an overall much better show.
Oh, million trillion %. And it's what wrestling fans want to see at the end of the day in 2021. They want to see wrestling. I think it's well established.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, the fans were 100% into this. So Kyle O'Reilly appears out of nowhere, attacks Holland and Dunne at ringside. Dunne sends O'Reilly over the announce table. Grimes brings him back into the ring. He misses the cave-in. Dunne blocks it. Dunne comes right back up with the bitter end in the middle of the ring for the pin for the win. So your winner was Pete Dunne at 5 minutes, 45 seconds.
Yeah, so this match was sandwiched in between the Cora Jade versus Frankie Monet match and Tony D'Angelo's debut. So yeah, this was an oasis in a sandstorm, Boris. This was a mirage. Indeed it was. Best thing on the show by a country mile. I still couldn't go any higher than 3.5 gabagool, but it's still 70% a safe B in Canada. Boris, good for what it was.
Yep. So after the match, Dunne is happy with Holland. O'Reilly rushes the ring yet again, attacks him, but they beat him down to boos. O'Reilly is destroyed with a quick double team attack. Holland and Dunne are standing tall, as they say, as the music starts back up.
Yeah, so I did like that Wade Barrett also mentioned, like, Pete Dunne must be angry because his muscle got drafted and he didn't. And we're going to have to see how it manifests for Pete Dunne, what he ends up doing here on NXT, and how his competition is going to respond to an angered Pete Dunne. And I thought that was brilliant. They actually addressed the elephant in the room.
Yep. We get a D'Angelo promo to hype up his debut. When we get back from the break, the newest SmackDown superstars Hit Row are backstage. NXT North American champ Isaiah Swerve Scott, Top Dollar, AJ Francis, B-Fab, Brianna Brandy, and Ashanti the Adonis are all there together. They issue a response to Legado del Fantasma and hype up their draft pick to SmackDown. Swerve says he will give Santos Escobar a title shot, and then the only way he's going to see the title is on Friday nights.
That was pretty cool. It'd be interesting if they made the North American title a WWE title. They called up the title. Could you imagine?
Could you imagine? That'd be hilarious.
I actually have an idea. And I hope I don't hurt your feelings with this one, buddy, but I think here's what's going to happen. Swerve is going to beat Santos. It's going to end up with like Swerve laid out somehow, and Melo is going to cash in, quote unquote, his free title shot, and Carmelo Hayes is going to leave next week as the NXT North American champion.
You son of a bitch.
I'm calling it now. I'm calling my shot, Carmelo Hayes style.
Yeah. What would be worse is if Santos does end up winning the belt, Hit Row and Legado are fighting, and the same outcome happens.
That'd be interesting, and they kind of like use
that
it
way. You have the new feud set up, right?
Yeah, and I think that NXT WWE management would assume that it would turn Carmelo Hayes heel, and they could go Legado babyface. But the exact opposite would happen. The crowd would go insane. The crowd loves Carmelo Hayes. He's a star in NXT already.
Dude, and we'll talk about that in a second. All right, so after this, we see a video of your boy, Von Wagner, helping out Kyle O'Reilly during the break. Wagner helps him up. They stare at each other with gawking, lovable eyes with sexual tension at 100%.
This is such a weird pairing that I don't understand or yet buy.
This is why I call them the Disputed Era.
The Disputed Era, indeed. Yeah, I don't see that these guys should be friends or would be. I don't like this.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, it's time for your boy, A.O. Gabagool Capacool, Tony D'Angelo versus Malik Blade.
Malik Blade versus Tony D'Angelo. Yeah, so I don't think D'Angelo's ready for television yet, as they say. But hey, it's time to develop. You are in developmental. The previous match was a 6-minute match that felt like 2 or 3, and that I wanted to go for 15. This was a 4-minute match that felt like 12, and I wanted it to end at 1. You know what I mean? God bless. God bless Tony D'Angelo. I really wanted to like him, and there's way more to wrestling than just moves and just doing moves. But this guy doesn't have any moves. He doesn't do anything. He's got a finisher, and that's it. Yeah, he's like a creator wrestler from WWE 2K22. The guy spent 3 hours making his costume and forgot to do his moveset and then started his career mode.
Yep.
And we saw his first match. That's exactly what this was.
Fun fact. Do you know what Tony D'Angelo's real name is? For once,
what is it? The
wrestling name is better than the real name.
What's his real name?
Joe Areola.
Joe Areola. Yeah, they probably should have changed that. They probably should have changed that. You could have done better than Tony D'Angelo, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So, Tony's working that like 1980s superstar style, and he wins with his only like move really of the match, which was a Northern Lights suplex, which he rolled in to the Fisherman's Neck Breaker, aka the move that Perry Saturn used to call the moss-handled 3-colored family Gradunza, Boris.
Yep. Now, one thing of note is the crowd was firmly behind Joe Areola in this match.
Hey, they really love them some Areola in NXT.
But like legit, all jokes aside, like the crowd was really into him. It was crazy. Crazy what effective promos does for a debuting wrestler, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. But this has happened in WWE before, even for like the cheesy like characters that didn't last and had no chance of lasting. Just because he got a pop the first time is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't mean that he's here to stay. But I do think like there's some potential in the character, and he's got the fundamentals down to some degree, I suppose. But yeah, there's just not a lot to Tony D'Angelo yet. He is a guy who really needs to develop.
But I agree with you, but at least they've solved step 1. How many times do people just show up with zero fanfare, zero reaction, zero anything?
Great point, man. Great point. Yeah, he has something, and that's way better than having nothing.
Yep. Man, I love this show. You know why? Because this is another appearance of the hardest working reporter in all professional wrestling, Mackenzie Mitchell. This time...
Wait.
What?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but one gabagool out of 5 for Tony D'Angelo on his inaugural appearance. A very bad wrestling match and an inauspicious debut.
Yep. And by the way, I'm renaming his finisher to the Gaba Cruel.
Oh, that's terrible. I love it.
All right. I'm happy because I get to say it again, because it's time yet again for the hardest working reporter in all of professional wrestling, Mackenzie Mitchell. This time, she's backstage with Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. They're hyped up for tonight's main event. They're also about it, and that's how it's going to be. They walk off, and the announcers hype up the main event.
Mello and Trick Williams are stars. Mello more than Williams at this point, but Trick can speak. But man, Carmelo Hayes, the crowd loves this guy.
Yeah,
he is miscast as a heel, and I hope they see that.
Yeah, exactly. Mei Ying versus Indy Hartwell time. This match was short. This match's ending made no sense. Matt, what's going to happen with Tian Sha, Mei Ying, Boa?
I also didn't realize until she was in there with Indy Hartwell, who might legit be 6 feet. Like, Indy Hartwell is super tall and very athletic. I didn't realize how short Mei Ying was. She is tiny. This was bad. Yet again, another bad match. Indy Hartwell had to carry it, and she's not at that point yet. She does have a lot of potential, and I do think Indy could be a star. She's got a great personality. She's super athletic, but this particular match was terrible. It was a terrible 2-minute match.
Yep. Indy won with the springboard into the Savage Elbow. I'm surprised. I'm shocked. I don't know. They spend a year hyping up how dangerous Mei Ying and Tian Sha is. And here we are, jobbing.
Yeah, they don't care about anything that Triple H did or whatever, though. This is it's a beautiful day. Ironically, remember when Triple H came back to that song? Anyway, man, yeah, another terrible match. I couldn't go any higher than a singular 1 gabagool, Boris, out of 5 yet again. I wouldn't even call it a good effort. You know what I mean? It was just a bad wrestling match. Mei Ying did both a nerve pinch and a Tongan death grip in 2 minutes and 51 seconds. Get out of here.
That's so true. I didn't even think of that. All right, so after the match, Persia joins Indy. Indy puts back her wedding ring, kisses it. We go to break.
Cool spot. After the match, she gets out of the ring and her buddy puts her wedding ring back on her. That's a cool spot. It'd be even cooler if Dexter put it back on, I guess. But well, probably not. It'd be less cool. It'd make Dexter kind of look like a loser a little bit. I don't know. Not really.
He's a loser right now.
I don't know, man. Anyway, I like that little touch. That made me laugh.
All right. Lash Legend. Lash Legend. Lash Legend. Who names these people?
Idiots. Complete idiots. Did you hear and see the little shot at Jacksonville Jaguar coach Urban Meyer in this? That was fun. You know who owns the Jaguars, buddy. Holy. It's a war. It's a wrestling war.
Yep. All right. So, Lash Legend. I have to say it again because I can't believe I am saying this on a wrestling podcast. Lash Legend. Jason LaRue. It was a better name than Lash Legend.
Oh, man. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I also think that's our second...
Lash Legend.
Sage, I also think that's our second Jason LaRue reference in as many weeks.
Yeah, we're gonna work him in every time. Lash Legend, I'm pretty sure is like a salon in Mississauga.
Yeah, pretty.
That's not even a joke. I'm dead serious. I think it's actually a salon in Mississauga.
I'm gonna look this up. You can talk for a couple seconds.
It's so dumb. They have someone who is in the WNBA for the Seattle Storm. Her name is, I believe, Anrielle Howard. It's something close to that anyway. But I think it's Anrielle Howard who played in the WNBA. Why? Why would you change her name? She's a legitimate athlete who's been in a professional sport at the highest level. Why would you change her name? You morons. You're not going to change Gable Stevenson's name. And if you do, you're morons. I don't get it at all, Boris.
Lash Legend is a eyelash place in Mississauga, right around the corner from my parents.
That's hilarious, and I only know that because the first time I typed Lash Legend into Google, it came up. That's how I know. So
I was going to ask you a lot of questions.
Also, you gotta keep these brows fucking and these eyelashes nice, Boris. Oh, dang, I might have used my second F word there.
All right, so Lash Legend, she says Lashing Out will return next week. She'll spill some hot tea that will make the controversial Urban Meyer mystery woman story look like nothing. Tony D'Angelo walks up and says she should have him on her show next week if she wants to get some real eyeballs on it. Lash seems to consider it. He walks off. She says she loved Tony in the new Sopranos movie. Lash tells her friends that Lashing Out was so good last week that it shut down the internet yesterday. So, my biggest gripe, beside the name Lash Legend, is the fact that you have this new wrestler who literally just debuted, who got a half-decent reception, who clearly you're investing in, and you make fun of the fact that he's a Soprano ripoff.
Like right away, yeah, that was pretty dumb. Like, you know, it's like scripted. Like, even if she came up with that line on the fly, cut it. You don't have to air it. You know what I mean? Like, it was a good little joke. I don't think she did like a terrible thing. But yeah, I agree. Don't hit us over the head with the fact that this guy is a goofball ripoff of the Sopranos movie that people don't even like as much as we all expected to. So, yeah. I don't know. Thing. I do like Lash Legend, but yeah, dumb for a number of reasons. Although I will say that the shot at Urban Meyer will turn this wrestling war around. AEW dead in 3 weeks.
Have you seen the pictures?
No, I actually haven't. I've heard about the story, but I truly, in my heart, don't give a tin shit about Urban Meyer. So
I don't either.
I haven't looked them up yet.
But it's hilarious. Anyways, here's the thing about Lash Legend. Her script might be the worst script that anyone has ever written in WWE, and it's obvious that she is such a naturally good speaker. Like, what are they doing to her? What are they doing?
It's bad WWE speak, but yeah, like you said, she is very talented. She has a personality. She does a good job with the terrible material.
I can't believe I've spent so much time talking about this. Anyways, Raquel Gonzalez comes out to the ring. We go to commercial. Back from commercial, we get a vignette with Diamond Mine. Malcolm Bivin hypes up each member and gives us some background information on them. You know, it's like it's as if they should have done this when they debuted.
Oh, it would have been so much better. But you know what? At least they did it now. This was really good. This was necessary. I'm glad it aired. At least they did it.
Exactly. That's the thing. I was going to say that. At the very least, better late than never. And if anything, this goes to prove that I actually really like Diamond Mine 2.0. Like, it's going well for them.
You know what? There are very few successes in this NXT 2.0 so far, but Braun Breaker and Diamond Mine are like chief among the huge successes of 2.0 so far. They are the home runs.
Not Lash Legend?
Lash Legend is like a solid single because she's really good, but it is not a home run, Boris, by any stretch.
Whew. Let me tell you this. My fever is getting super high right now.
Oh, no.
Like, I could just feel it skyrocketing. Not sure if it's the fever or my anger.
Is that because Raquel? Because your girl Raquel's coming to the ring?
Yep. We go back to the ring. Samantha Irvin is interviewing Gonzalez. Irvin says the world has been buzzing about Toxic Attraction and asks about last week's beatdown on Gonzalez. Gonzalez says, message received. She asks Mandy Rose if they know who they attacked. Gonzalez says Toxic Attraction has been in the headlines for a few weeks, but she's been dominating the division for a year. Gonzalez goes on about how she will take care of Rose, put her in a body cast if she touches her title again. Gonzalez goes to address Gigi Dolan and JC Jane, but Toxic Attraction comes out.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, a very, very cheesy, scripted WWE promo here. JC Jane hits the line, we're not just Toxic Attraction, we are the attraction, which just made me think, like, that's such a dumb it's such a mouthful of a catchphrase. They should just actually be the attraction and screw the catchphrase.
Yep, exactly. Mandy Rose actually did a very good job here for her delivery sucks, but she was able to work the crowd with the whole what chant. So she's spewing her lines. Fans are saying what. Then she basically turns around and says that Mandy Rose is the best thing, hottest thing, but if you say what again or something like that. And the crowd had zero response.
Yeah, she shut down the what chants, and she's very confident on the microphone. She is, like you said, her delivery is hit and miss, but she has confidence for sure. And it does seem like JC and way more Gigi are nervous on the microphone. Mandy Rose is certainly not nervous.
I wouldn't say Gigi is Jesus Christ. I wouldn't say Gigi is nervous. I think it's more the way she delivers her lines makes her seem more nervous than she really is.
Yeah, you said that last week, and I'm perfectly okay if I'm wrong on this. I might be wrong, totally might be off base, but to me, she seems nervous, yes.
Yeah. All right, so they each get a word. Then they basically say that they're not just toxic attraction, they're the attraction. They all surround the ring. Rose says it's time to have some fun. They go to attack Gonzalez, but the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, Io Shirai and Zoe Stark, storm the ring, stand tall with Gonzalez. The two sides yell at each other, but Toxic Attraction jumps down off the apron, backs away as the fans boo.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Boris, you suggested this. I'm going to steal your thunder. At Halloween Havoc, we should get the 6-woman tag for all the gold. Yep. Tag team titles and women's title. And how I would book that, if it happens, is Io Shirai turns heel, walks out on her partners, costing Zoe the tag team titles and costing Raquel the world title.
Yeah. Well, it would make sense. Why is Io going to help the person who beat her for the title?
Yes, absolutely. And if you kind of look at Io's character, she's never actually turned babyface for real. She's just the crowd just likes her, and she just kind of does mean things to the heels instead. You know what I mean? Exactly. Yeah, she could very easily go heel, and I think it would be really great. And she could be the Tommaso Ciampa, the leader of the division, you know? She could easily have that veteran champion role for a long time.
Yep. Here's the thing. Before we move on, a lot of people have been like, for example, we were talking earlier about Frankie Monet not being called up. Here's my concern. As long as Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair are champions, we know what the division is going to be like. And it's not to say that I don't want to see them on the main roster. Like the Frankie Monets, the Io Shirais, the Toni Storms, the Tegan Knoxes, the Shotzi Blackhearts. It's a fact that we know how things are going to go.
You're right. I have no response to that. It's not a call up at the end of the day. It's at best a move sideways. Yeah. It's usually a move down.
It's a move weirdly diagonally into the Ryback era of Feed Me More to Charlotte and Becky Lynch.
Yeah, exactly. But you still want to see it.
Of course.
You still want to see the people on the main stage. You know?
Of course. I do. I 100% do. But I don't know. It is what it is there. All right. Kyle O'Reilly is backstage, ice on his shoulder. Your boy, Mr. Von Wagner himself, walks in and says that next week they will team up to face Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland. Wagner says Kyle can like it or not, but he's the only person to have Kyle's back in NXT.
Von Fargo. Yeah, give me a week or two. I'm going to work on a nice Von Wagner impression for the good listeners out there.
Just watch the TV show. You'll get some good material.
I'm due to watch. Yeah, dude. I didn't. I do like Fargo. I didn't watch the Chris Rock season super closely. My roommates were watching it, and I was kind of in and out of it.
Same
but
here.
Yeah, I'm a big Fargo fan.
That first season was fantastic.
Yeah, guaranteed. Yeah, well, the movies.
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. All right. It's time for the main event of the night, the Fatal 4-Way Elimination match for the NXT Tag Team titles. Brooks Jensen, that is, versus Josh Briggs versus the Grizzled Young Veterans versus Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. I'm going to call them Trick Hayes and MSK.
I don't want to Oh man, I'm sure wrestling is so hard. I've never done it, other than like backyard like stuff, like with my friends and whatever. I've never been trained. I've never stepped in a ring. Maybe one day that'll change, Boris. Who knows? But anyway, at this moment, I've never been trained. I couldn't tell you how hard wrestling is. From my sensibility as a fan watching this show, Brooks Jensen is the worst wrestler on the show and one of the worst wrestlers I've ever seen in my entire life. He is so green. He couldn't walk into the ring, man. He could barely get in the ring. It was not a good showing for Brooks Jensen. God bless him. It is developmental. These men and women are here to develop. Boy, this kid's got to develop, man. He looked bad. Day one. He looked like this was his first time in a wrestling ring.
I'm pretty sure it was.
It might have been.
Did they wrestle last week? I don't even remember. I don't even know what's going on anymore. All right, so this match only went a total of 12 minutes, 38 seconds, so this is how it went down. My pick for the match was Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes, but of course, they were the first ones to be eliminated at 3 minutes, 54 seconds after the heart attack blockbuster from MSK. Wesley got the pin there. After this, Brooks Jensen, your boy Brooks Jensen, pinned Zach Gibson with a chokeslam powerbomb at 10 minutes and 40 seconds. And then it was...
So, sorry, if I could just briefly interrupt. I do like that tag team finisher. It might kill somebody one day. I believe it's Josh Briggs lifts his opponent up for a big chokeslam, and Jensen catches his legs on the way down into a power bomb. So I have never seen that move before. I kind of like it. I hope they don't murder someone with it.
Yep. It's a couple things before we talk about the end of the match. Carmelo Hayes, the crowd was hot for Hayes. They wanted Hayes.
Hayes was in there for like 30 seconds, looked amazing. Crowd went wild. As soon as he was eliminated, they were chanting. When they came back from commercial, they were chanting, "We want Mello," loudly. At the end of the match, another loud "We want Mello" chant. Carmelo Hayes is a baby face, and he's a star. Despite the fact that they wanted to pretend he's a heel for a couple weeks, they should like strongly commit to him being a baby face right away. Crowd loves him.
Crowd, you know who the crowd doesn't like?
The must-see kids.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I think, we need a double turn here because the MSK are baby faces in storyline. I think it's time to double turn them. And Carmelo and Trick Williams. Man, this was the day that they became heels, MSK. The crowd has officially turned on the must-see kids, Boris.
Yeah, it's crazy. Joe Aguinaldo had this to say, basically. Like, what is it? Why don't they like him? He's a fan of them, but what is it about the MSK, the must-see kids, that people just aren't getting behind? What is it in your opinion?
I don't even think it's that they aren't getting behind him. I think that they're kind of annoying, and they're the kind of guys that you want to boo. I don't think it's X-Pac heat, you know what I mean, as they used to say. I don't think it's like get off my TV heat. I think it's like, oh, these guys are good wrestlers, but they're annoying, and I want to see them get their ass kicked. That's how I feel anyway. Yep. I don't think it's like, oh, screw these guys, change the channel. I don't think it's that.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
They're not getting over because their promos are kind of annoying. That's especially Nash Carter.
Yeah, we've said it many times, and I honestly thought it was just our opinion, like my opinion of them. We've talked about it a few times on the show, but you're really starting to see that like the crowd just thinks they are annoying.
Yeah, and
some would say that they are rascals.
I love it. They should lean into it. But yeah, so this was good for what it was, I guess. But yeah, a lot of the guys were green. Like Trick Williams, obviously very green. Brooks Jensen, God bless him, the worst wrestler on the show, in my opinion, by a country mile. And I'm not saying he'll never get better. Maybe like I'll be looking back on this in 6 months and saying, wow, like Brooks Jensen's come a long way. But at this moment, oh boy.
Hey, just remember what we were saying about Raquel Gonzalez when she debuted.
100% right, buddy. 100% right. It's developmental. They're here to develop.
Yep. And then Wesley pinned Jensen after a Hurricane at 12:38. So MSK retained the titles. I gotta say, I'm shocked. I don't know why I'm so shocked. Like, obviously the office has some faith in MSK and they want them to do something. So yeah, MSK wins.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like, I don't mean to hit this over the head, but go back and watch Brooks Jensen, like, specifically, like, focus on Brooks Jensen in this match. It was, anyway, I could not go higher than 2 gabagool out of 5. It was a slight fail, strong effort from all 8 people, but it was a bad wrestling match to close this week's NXT. A pretty bad show, one of the worst we've ever reviewed here on this podcast.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's the fever I had last night or the fever I have now, but it wasn't the worst show. There was just a lot of stuff, a lot of bad stuff. You know what? At the end of the day, it's wrestling. I'm going to remember a wrestling show by the wrestling, which is why I don't have the most fond memories of the Attitude Era. So, having said that, yeah, it's been a rough go. But, like I say, I'm just looking at this for what it is at this point.
That's completely fair, man. It's completely fair. And yeah, I'm having fun watching this. You know, I'm having a lot of fun, and I will continue till the bitter end, until USA cancels this show in 3 months. No, I'm just kidding. But until the bitter end, we're here on NXT Talk. We will be reviewing this show. But I can only tell you how I feel, buddy, and that's the way she went down this week in my eyes.
Oh no, 100%, 100% agree with you there. It's one of those things, man. I don't know. It scares me sometimes. But so yeah, that was NXT stateside. Is it time to move to NXT UK?
Yes, we do have, briefly, we have next week, NXT North American title, Swerve Scott versus Santos Escobar. And we both kind of think Carmelo Hayes might leave that with the title somehow. We have Joe Gacy versus Tommaso Ciampa, and if Gacy wins, he is added to the NXT title match at Halloween Havoc. And we have Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner versus Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland. And also NXT Halloween Havoc in 3 weeks, October 26th, 2021. And we have one match, Braun Breaker versus Tommaso Ciampa, possibly versus Joe Gacy as well.
Yeah, that's crazy. Question. Do you think it is too early to add 2 very new superstars in Joe Gacy and Breaker against Ciampa?
Objectively, yes. But I think, 2 new superstars is kind of like, it's just kind of becoming too wacky, too silly. If Ciampa can beat Gacy and then Breaker beats Ciampa, I think that's a very good way to establish that Breaker is a cut above all these guys. He is the big star. And if that's how you want to do it, that's a good way to do it. If it ends up that Joe Gacy's just in this match as well, and it's Tommaso Ciampa defends against Kids du Jour, I think that would lessen Braun Breaker's impact. It would lessen the specialness of the match. It would make the whole thing worse. So of course they're going to do it.
No, you know what's going to happen? Harlan is going to interfere, and Joe Gacy's going to end up with the title.
Maybe. That'd be kind of interesting. Joe Gacy, NXT champion. They just really love that character that much. That'd be, I do actually think that, well, we'll see. We'll see on the day. I still think it's too early to call. It wouldn't surprise me if they put the title on Braun Breaker. It would not surprise me at all.
Same here. All right, let's go to the most exciting hour in WWE programming. It is time to talk about NXT UK here on NXT Talk on NXT UK Corner. But before we do that, Matt, October 14th, fans are coming back. How excited are you?
Oh my God. The European WWE, the European Pro Wrestling, Boris, fans are so great, so passionate, so vocal. How could you not be excited? This is already the best hour of WWE TV, and it's going to get immensely better. Oh yeah, hook it to my veins.
Yeah. I'm super excited for this. Like we've said this just last week. We've rated some of these matches for crumpets, for supernovas and higher. But I posed the question, what if fans were there? Because again, when we talk about our rating system, we always talk about the Lex Luger total package of the presentation, the TV, the commentators, the in-ring. We talk about our pillars, our 3 pillars. So adding the fans is going to be immensely huge for them.
especially that specific fan base that has always added so much to every show, you know? So yeah, I can't wait to see NXT UK back in front of the people.
Yep. All right, so this episode had a few interesting matches. Let's just jump right into the show. Mustache Mountain, Trent Seven, and Heritage Cup champion Tyler Bate went up against Ashton Smith and Oliver Carter. This match, for me, went a little different than I thought it would. I thought we were going to see more issues with Mustache Mountain, but things seemed pretty good overall. I really like the offense of Ashton Smith and Oliver Carter.
Yeah, definitely. There was a lot more Trent Seven in this match than I thought we were going to get. He did kind of wrestle the vast majority of it. But yeah, I agree. There wasn't really any trouble here between Mustache Mountain, and we did kind of think that they were going down that breakup road pretty soon. But yeah, this was a fine wrestling match. I agree. It did go kind of maybe a little long.
Yep. And then you had like the parallel angle Symbiosis come out. They're around the ring, and then at the same time, Dave Mastiff and Jack Stars run out to save the day. So yeah, it was kind of just like a lot was going on in this match. And Seven finishes Smith off with a dragon suplex to capture the pinfall victory as Mustache Mountain win the match.
Yeah, very good wrestling match. I believe it went 9 minutes and 57 seconds, almost 10 minutes. Like a little too long. It wasn't wasn't the best thing that you'll ever see, but you still couldn't go any lower than 3 supernovas, Boris, out of 5, 60% crumpet percentage on this one.
Yep. All right, Ginny is interviewed back in the back somewhere, who knows where. Anyways, they essentially ask about what is next for Ginny. She gives the obvious heel answer where she is going to run the division at some point. As she walks away, Emilia McKenzie gets into a squabble with Ginny as she's training, so this sets up a match for next week.
Yep. I like Ginny's a pretty good promo. I like Emilia McKenzie too. Let's do it.
Yep. But the match that I'm interested in more is this. Nina Samuels versus Ginny. Because to me, they're basically the same character.
That's interesting. Yeah, Nina Samuels is she's more that goofy Billy Kay vibe. And Ginny tries to be like a serious version of it. But you're 100% right. I see that for sure.
All right, so the reason why I brought up Nina Samuels is because right after this, we had a Nina Samuel interview segment. She interviews Dave Mastiff and Jack Stars, but she essentially drives the entire segment to be all about her. Mastiff and Stars just say, F this, and they walk away.
I like this a lot. It reminded me a lot of the Billy Kay character. That was one of the best things they were doing in WWE before they cluelessly released her.
Before you got them released.
That is absurd. That is an absurd thing to say. But yes, my poor Juju in the pick contest rained down on the Iconics. Yes.
Yep. All right, Danny Luna versus Zia Brookside. Dude, this match went really long, I think. Didn't it?
That's ironic. It went, well, ironic's probably the wrong word. But yeah, no, it didn't. Well, it depends on your definition of long, but it went 5 minutes and 36 seconds, I believe.
I thought it was longer, to be honest.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad match.
No, I liked it.
Yeah, this was basically Danny Luna showing off her strength, Zia Brookside kind of showing off her speed, and strength won. Danny Luna won this match.
I might be the minority in this here, but I actually liked this match more than the first one. I thought this was perfectly fine. I thought it went the right. Yeah. I'm glad that I was worried the way you said that. I kind of seemed like you thought it went too long or you thought it was bad. But yeah, no, I thought it went like the perfect amount of time, and I thought it was really good. Yeah, 5 minutes, 36 seconds. Danny Luna does a thing where she hits like a body slam, like a world's strongest slam, but she stays on her feet and she like quickly snaps it back into a follow-away slam. I've never seen that move before. That's really cool.
Yeah. That was really cool. I really like Danny Luna. Like, this was the first time that I really saw her wrestle outside of tag matches and whatnot. But I really enjoyed this a lot. So after the match, she tries to handshake Brookside, and Brookside basically says, F you. We get a video package showing Blair Davenport's unruly reign. She's still looking to get reinstated, and Stevie Turner would like her to return soon too. Turner marches into Sid Scala's office, demanding payback from Davenport.
Yes. So previous match, I would go 3 Supernovas out of 5, 60% crumpet percentage, as good or better than the opener. Yeah, this Sid Scala. All right. I like Blair Davenport a lot. I just realized that Sid Scala was kind of mentioned in the speaking out stuff, and he still kind of has a job anyway. That's neither here nor there. Let's not go down that road. But yeah, I didn't realize that Sid Scala was kind of a scumbag. Kind of changes my opinion on him a little bit.
Right. Sam Gradwell and Mark Andrews, they're still angry at each other. And then I'm going to let you talk about this one. This was probably my favorite match in WWE programming all of last week. That is Charlie Dempsey versus Josh Morrell.
Oh boy. So this wasn't Charlie Dempsey's first appearance. Apparently he has appeared once before in a loss to Tyler Bate. It might have been before we started doing NXT UK Corner. It was earlier this year in 2021. Anyway, this was a brilliant debut. A very good wrestling match. It only went 6 minutes and 14 seconds, but it was super unique. Charlie Dempsey, son of William Regal, IRL Bailey Matthews is his real name, son of Darren Matthews, William Regal. He is the WWE's Zack Jr. Instantly, from day one, he is working that exact style. He is like the new Timothy Thatcher. He is their Zack Sabre Jr. He is amazing in the ring already. He is really, really good. His offense, it's very unique. It looks like it hurts like hell. He can work strikes. He doesn't do too many, but when he does, they're great. His suplexes, his submissions. This guy is awesome in the ring already.
All right, question for you. Number one, it's hilarious that you say that he's WWE's version of Zack Sabre Jr. because that's gonna go into my second question. But my first question is, paint the picture for our listeners who haven't watched this match. Paint the picture of that finisher.
Oh my God, I don't even know what to call it. So he's got like a bow and arrow on the ground on this guy, where he's got like his head. He basically bends his opponent backwards so that the opponent's boot touches his head in a grounded position. Like if you could picture, he's like bending them backwards like a pretzel so that the boot of his opponent touches his head. I gotta find a picture of this or put it up on the Facebook thread or something. I don't even think he can keep this move because it legitimately looks like the most painful submission in wrestling history. I'm not lying. Like, I don't think he can do this to everybody. Yeah. He can only do it to like the Jack Evanses of the world, you know?
Yeah, dude, that was insane. Like, this guy just knows how to get you in any corner, and it literally is like watching a WWE version of Zack Sabre Jr. So my next question is the fact that you even said it kind of takes away from my second question. But that was, how much would you pay for Charlie Dempsey versus Zack Sabre Jr.?
I'm not lying. I would already pay. I would, if it was on a pay-per-view that I had to pay $50 for. I would sign my money away today, this instant, and it will only get better the better that Charlie Dempsey gets. Although I'm sure it might not ever happen, you know, because they work with different companies, of course. But man, what a dream match already! Yeah. Charlie Dempsey is the WWE Zack Sabre Jr. I am all the way in on this guy. This as disappointing as Tony D'Angelo's debut was, this was 10, 20 times the debut that Tony D'Angelo did. This was brilliant. So great.
Yep. So how many Supernovas crumpets would you give this?
It's like by the Dave Meltzer scale, it's probably like a 3.5 star match. But here at NXT TLK, NXT Talk, where we look at the total package, Lex Luger, we look at the pillars. The commentary did a great job. This was his first showing. He made you like instantly want to see everything this guy does. I want to see him wrestle for the Heritage Cup. I want to see him against Tyler Bate. I want to see him against Trent Seven. This was easy. 4 Supernovas out of 5. A great debut for Charlie Dempsey.
Yep. Yeah, it was fantastic. Honestly, I loved every second of it. So Ilya Dragunov and A-Kid come face to face before their epic NXT UK Championship title match. Dragunov asks A-Kid not to be naive and believes he'll be the one on the end of the Mad Russian's reign. A-Kid's reply is simple. There are 3 ways he'll go about this bout: tapping him, pinning him, or snapping him the way Walter did for months. Dragunov tells A-Kid he's just a kid. And now is not his time. We'll just see about that when both of these men face off in 2 weeks on NXT UK.
A serious promo between 2 athletes who want to fight each other and win a title. Could you imagine that happening on 2.0 right now? Could you imagine something like this on 2.0?
No, not at all.
Yeah. And this was an amazing promo, far and away the best promo that we cover on this show today.
Oh, yeah, by far. All right, main event time. Joe Coffey with Gallus versus Jordan Devlin. This was a very fun main event. And if you, honestly, Matt, don't like Jordan Devlin, I'm gonna cancel the show and just call it a podcasting career.
I'm not sure if it's official, but if it hasn't been made official, I can say I was wrong about Jordan Devlin. I was wrong about him. I like him now. I can't hate on him. I do still think that he is Finn Balor ripoff. I think that's never going to change. But as Finn Balor ripoffs go, he's pretty great.
Yeah, exactly. What you think of the match?
It was a good match, man. A small guy versus big guy match, but the big guy was the baby face. It's a tough formula to work, but you don't see it so often. So when they pull it off, it's actually pretty fun. And this was actually pretty fun. I really like this.
Exactly. How would you rate this match?
We're going to go 3.5 supernovas out of 5. Perfectly good main event for what it was. But honestly, the best thing on the show and the only great thing, the thing I'm going to take away was Charlie Dempsey. I wouldn't say it was that good, but it was still a very, very good wrestling match. We're going to go 3.5. It's a solid B in Canada.
Yep. All right. Next week on the show, we have Emilia McKenzie versus Ginny. We have Mark Andrews versus Sam Gradwell. And we have the finals of the NXT UK Heritage Cup #1 Contenders Tournament as Wolfgang meets Noam Dar.
Yes, and that is the final show in the empty warehouse, Boris, because in 2 weeks, October 14th, we have Ilya Dragunov versus A-Kid in front of a paying audience.
Yeah, I am so excited for this. Before we go, there was a question thrown up to us by Joe Aguinaldo. We might as well talk about this real quick. So he says, assuming that Ridge Holland is moving up on the 22nd, when all the draft stuff takes into effect, how does he leave NXT? Does he lose on his way out, and to whom?
I think it's ridiculous that WWE does this. I would never do it in a million years. But since this is the way they book, I can easily see him losing to Von Wagner. Clean in the middle of the ring, lost to Von Wagner, and then he moves up.
Yeah, I can see that, or I can see this. Hear me out. Hear me out on this one. Next week, he costs the match against Pete Dunne. Him and Pete Dunne go at it. They set up a match for the following week. Pete Dunne takes him out of NXT.
Interesting. I like where your head's at, but if they do that, I bet they would actually put Ridge Holland over Pete Dunne. For some reason, I just don't think Pete Dunne would win that match. I don't know. Funny. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just countering my own previous point there. But yeah, no, I actually think no matter who he wrestles, in my heart, he'll probably lose on his way out because they're so dumb that that's what they do in NXT.
Yep. Do you think MSK will ever get called up to the main roster?
That's a tough one. Yes, I do. I actually do think, but it's tough because they're Triple H guys and they aren't Pritchard McMahon guys. But they still seem to be like over. The crowd's turning on them, but they don't turn their backs on them. They don't fall asleep when they're out in the ring. They're booing them loudly, so that's good. That's a very good thing. They're still getting a strong reaction. I think they will move up and be tag team jobbers forever.
Yeah, unfortunately. And last but not least, will they put the belt on Braun Breaker at Halloween Havoc?
It's still too early to say, but boy, it wouldn't shock me. I'm going to say yes right now. Yes, they put the belt on Braun Breaker at Halloween Havoc. Now, if Joe Gacy gets in that match and muddles things up greatly, we'll see. We'll see what happens in a couple weeks. I reserve the right to change this opinion. All right. Of course. At this moment, I agree. I do think they will do it.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I'm still under the impression that Joe Gacy is going to end up with the belt.
Oh man, that would be interesting. He's getting some buzz, and they like that.
Yep. If anything, right? That's what they like. That's what we're going to be seeing of more here in NXT 2.0. All right, dude, I am dying right now. You have no idea how stuffed up I am. The fever's going. The headache is starting. We're in, of course, this has to be our longest show in a long time. So just remember, as a patron, you get everything. You know the list. Ballergear.ca for all the merch. He's Matt. I'm Boris. Good night.
Get some rest. Feel better, brother. Yeah.